Have you ever done all the work, but still feel like love isn't arriving? You've read the books, you've done the therapy, you've cleared your chakras, set your boundaries, and learned to love yourself. You feel ready, more ready than you've ever been. You've invested years in healing, months in meditation, countless hours in understanding your patterns and breaking your cycles. But there's this quiet ache that whispers in the spaces between your healing, a feeling that something is still missing, still blocked, still keeping you from the love you know you deserve. It's like standing at the edge of a beautiful lake, knowing how to swim, but somehow never quite stepping into the water. You might be successful, spiritually aware, emotionally intelligent. People see you as having it all together. Your friends come to you for advice about their relationships. You're the one who sees clearly, who speaks wisdom, who holds space for others' hearts. But inside, there's this tender place that wonders, why does love feel so far away when I feel so close to myself? It's not that you don't attract attention. Men are drawn to your energy, your light, your depth. It's not that you don't have options. You could be dating, you could be in relationships, you could be filling your calendar with connection. But something happens. Something always happens. It's something deeper, more subtle. Something that happens in the space between your conscious desires and your unconscious expectations. Like a secret code running in the background of your operating system, influencing every choice, every response, every moment of openness or closure. You know what you want. You can articulate it clearly. You can visualize it perfectly. A love that's deep and true and lasting. A partnership that honors your growth and supports your dreams. A connection that feels like coming home while still feeling like an adventure. But between knowing what you want and actually receiving it, there's this invisible barrier. This energetic wall that you can't quite see, but can definitely feel. It's like trying to hug someone through glass. You can see them, you can want them, but something keeps you from actually touching. There's a belief living in your subconscious that you might have never named. It lives in the shadows of your awareness, in the corners of your heart that you haven't fully illuminated yet. It sounds like this: love, real love, hurts. Not the surface kind of hurt. Not the temporary disappointment of a bad date or the minor sting of unmet expectations. The deep kind. The kind that changes you, that requires you to let go of control, that asks you to trust when trusting feels like the most dangerous thing you could do. The kind of hurt that rewrites your story, that dissolves your edges, that asks you to surrender the very identity you've worked so hard to build. The kind of love that doesn't just want your good days and your healed parts, but wants to see you completely, vulnerably, authentically, even on the days when you don't feel like a goddess, when you don't have it all figured out, when you're just human. Bob Proctor taught us, your results will always match the vibration of your subconscious beliefs. Think about that for a moment. Your results. The love you attract, the relationships you experience, the patterns you repeat, they're not random. They're not bad luck. They're not because you're too picky or too much or not enough. They're a perfect reflection of what you expect at the deepest level. So you attract, then you doubt. You open, then you close. You get close, then you find reasons to step back. Not because you don't want love, but because part of you still believes that surrendering to love means surrendering your safety. You've learned to protect yourself so well. You've built these beautiful, sophisticated systems of self-preservation. You can spot red flags from a mile away. You know your worth. You won't settle for less than you deserve. These are beautiful things, evolved things, wise things. But somewhere along the way, your protection became a prison. Your discernment became a wall. Your standards became a way to keep everyone at arm's length. You're like a flower trying to bloom while your roots are still tangled in old soil, old stories,
old wounds that convinced you that love and pain are inseparable, that to love fully means to suffer inevitably, that the deeper you go, the more you'll lose yourself. Maybe it was your parents' marriage that taught you this. Maybe it was watching your mother disappear into taking care of everyone else, losing herself in the process. Maybe it was seeing your father's heart break when your mother left, watching him never quite recover. Maybe it was your first love, the one who showed you what it felt like to be completely seen and then completely abandoned. The one who taught you that vulnerability is dangerous, that giving your heart away means having it returned to you in pieces. Maybe it was the relationship where you tried so hard to be perfect, to be enough, to be what they needed, and it still wasn't enough. Where you learned that even your best efforts, your deepest love, your most authentic self could be rejected. Or maybe it was subtler than that. Maybe it was 1,000 small moments that taught you that love costs too much, that it requires you to shrink, to silence your needs, to become smaller so that others can be bigger. Whatever taught you this lesson, it's living in your body now. It's in your nervous system, in your energy field, in the way you breathe when someone gets too close. It's in the way you laugh a little too quickly when someone says something tender. It's in the way you change the subject when conversations get too deep. You've become a master of being close, but not too close. Available, but not too available. Open, but not too open. You've learned to love with one foot out the door, just in case. But here's what's happening energetically. You're sending mixed signals to the universe. You're saying, I want love with your words, and I'm not sure I can handle love with your vibration. You're calling in connection while simultaneously preparing for disconnection. The universe isn't confused by this. The universe is responding perfectly to your actual frequency, not your conscious desires. And your actual frequency is still humming the tune of love equals loss. What part of you still fears that love might hurt more than it heals? Are you protecting yourself from love without realizing it? The block isn't just about pain. It's about a paradigm that was created to keep you safe, but now keeps you separate. It whispers, I cannot fully surrender and still be safe. This is the hidden programming that runs your love life from the shadows. It's not dramatic or obvious. It doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It's quiet, sophisticated, and so deeply woven into your patterns that you might mistake it for wisdom, for intuition, for simply being selective. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you truly, completely, vulnerably opened your heart to someone without keeping a piece of yourself in reserve? When was the last time you loved without a backup plan, without an exit strategy, without some part of you watching from the sidelines, ready to pull you back if things get too real? This belief didn't appear overnight. It was woven
from moments when love felt dangerous. Maybe it was watching your parents' relationship, seeing how love could turn into conflict, how intimacy could become a battlefield, how two people who once couldn't live without each other could end up barely able to be in the same room. Maybe it was your first heartbreak, when you learned that giving someone your whole heart doesn't guarantee they'll be careful with it. When you discovered that love doesn't always protect you from pain, sometimes it delivers you directly to it. Maybe it was the relationship where you tried so hard to be perfect, to be enough, to be everything they needed, and it still wasn't enough. Where you learned that even your deepest love, your most authentic self, your most generous heart could be rejected. Or maybe it was subtler than that. Maybe it was growing up in a world that taught you that being too much was dangerous, that wanting love too openly made you needy, that showing your full depth might overwhelm people, that being vulnerable was the same as being weak. Whatever the source, your brilliant mind created a protection system. I'll stay open enough to attract love, but closed enough to survive it. And this system worked. It kept you safe from the devastating heartbreak of complete surrender. It protected you from the terror of being fully seen and potentially rejected. It allowed you to experience connection without the existential risk of total vulnerability. But here's what happened over time. The system that was supposed to protect your heart started protecting you from your heart. The walls that were meant to keep pain out started keeping love out too. Bob Proctor reminds us, your paradigm isn't what you say, it's what you expect without realizing. Think about your expectations, not the ones you consciously hold, but the ones humming quietly in your nervous system. When you imagine falling deeply in love, what do you really expect? Complete joy, or complete joy, followed by complete devastation? When you picture yourself fully vulnerable with someone, what feels more likely? That they'll treasure that vulnerability, or that they'll use it against you? When you imagine letting someone all the way in, does part of you immediately start calculating how much it will hurt when they inevitably leave? These expectations aren't conscious choices. They're the paradigm running your love life from behind the scenes, and they're showing up in ways so subtle
Might not even notice. This protection shows up in ways so subtle, you might not even notice. First, you choose men who are emotionally unavailable, not because you lack standards, not because you don't know better, but because unavailable feels safer than vulnerable. An unavailable man can't ask you to be fully present because he's not fully present himself. He can't call you deeper because he's not going deeper. He can't challenge your walls because he's too busy maintaining his own. With an unavailable man, you can experience the thrill of attraction, the excitement of pursuit, the satisfaction of connection, without ever having to face the terror of being completely seen and potentially rejected. You can love him safely because you know he'll never love you completely. You might tell yourself you're just attracted to a challenge, that you like the mystery, that you're helping him open up. But what's really happening is you're choosing someone who will never ask you to drop your guard completely. Second, you stay perpetually busy, perpetually strong, perpetually handling everything. Love requires space, and you filled all your spaces with control. You're the one who has it all together. You're successful, independent, capable. You don't need anyone, and you make sure everyone knows it. You're so busy building your empire, healing your past, optimizing your future, that there's no room for the messiness of real intimacy. But here's the thing. Love isn't something you can schedule between your yoga class and your business meeting. It's not something you can control between your morning meditation and your evening ritual. Love is organic, unpredictable, inconvenient. It shows up when it shows up, and it asks for your presence, not your productivity. By staying constantly busy, constantly focused on your goals, constantly improving yourself, you create a life that looks full but feels empty. You create a schedule that has no room for spontaneity, no space for someone else's needs, no time for the slow dance of getting to know someone deeply. You tell yourself you're just being responsible, just being focused, just being ambitious. But what you're really doing is creating a life so packed with your own agenda that there's no room for anyone else's. Third, you laugh off your deeper needs. You minimize your desire for partnership. You make jokes about wanting love while simultaneously pushing it away. You're the one who's always joking,
Being single, always laughing about dating disasters, always making light of your desire for connection. You're so funny, so clever, so entertaining when you talk about love that no one takes your longing seriously, including you. But underneath the humor is a deep protection. If you joke about wanting love, you can't be rejected for wanting it. If you laugh about your needs, you can't be hurt for having them. If you make light of your desires, you can't be disappointed when they're not met. This pattern is so sophisticated that you might not even realize you're doing it. You think you're just being funny, just being light, just not taking yourself too seriously. But what you're actually doing is teaching everyone around you, including potential partners, that your heart isn't something to be taken seriously. You're communicating that your needs are optional, that your desires are negotiable, that your longing for love is just a punchline rather than a prayer. Here's what's happening energetically. You're sending the message that you don't really need love, that you're fine without it, that it would be nice but not necessary. And the universe is responding by giving you exactly what you're asking for, a life that's fine without love. But here's what your protective heart needs to know. Love, real love, doesn't require armor. It requires presence. The love that's meant for you isn't the kind that will hurt you. It's not the love that will ask you to shrink, to silence your needs, to become smaller so that someone else can be bigger. It's not the love that will punish you for your depth, your sensitivity, your big heart. The love that's meant for you is the kind that will see you completely and love you more, not less. It's the kind that will meet your vulnerability with tenderness, your authenticity with appreciation, your open heart with reverence. But you have to let it in. You have to be willing to be seen, to be met, to be loved, not just for the parts of you that are healed and whole and shining, but for the parts that are still tender, still growing, still learning. The love that's meant for you doesn't want your perfection. It wants your presence. It doesn't want your protection. It wants your truth. What truth about love are you finally ready to stop avoiding? When you trust love again, it finds you. Close your eyes and imagine this. You're standing in a garden at sunset. The light is golden, warm on your skin, and for the first time in perhaps years, you feel safe. Not because you're protected, but because you're present. You feel love moving towards you like a gentle river, not rushing, not demanding, just flowing. And instead of building walls or creating tests, you simply receive. This isn't fantasy. This isn't wishful thinking. This is what becomes possible when you shift from the vibration of protection to the vibration of presence. When you release the belief that love and pain are inseparable and embrace the truth that love and growth are eternal dance partners. Bob Proctor taught us, change your belief and you change your vibration. Change your vibration and everything around you must match it. Think about this for a moment. Everything around you must match your vibration. Not might match, not could match. Must match. The universe doesn't have a choice in this matter. It's not personal. It's physics. When you vibrate at the frequency of love equals pain, you attract situations that confirm this belief. You magnetize people who are wounded, unavailable, or afraid of depth. You create scenarios where love feels dangerous, where vulnerability leads to hurt, where opening your heart means risking devastation. But when you release the belief that love equals pain, your entire energetic signature changes. You stop attracting what you need to protect yourself from. You start attracting what you're ready to receive. You stop drawing in the men who need fixing and start magnetizing the men who are ready for partnership. You stop creating drama and start creating depth. You stop choosing chaos and start choosing connection. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It's not a switch you flip or a decision you make once. It's a practice, a daily choice to trust love instead of fearing it, to choose presence over protection, to choose vulnerability over safety. But here's what happens when you make this choice consistently. You become a different person, not better or worse than who you were, but different, more open,
more present, more alive. This version of you doesn't need to be perpetually strong because she knows her softness is her strength. She understands that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the birthplace of connection, creativity, and joy. She doesn't need to stay busy because she's comfortable with presence. She can sit in silence with someone without needing to fill the space with activity or achievement. She can be with what is instead of
Constantly trying to create what should be. She doesn't need to test love because she trusts her own discernment. She can feel the difference between someone who's emotionally available and someone who's not. She can sense the difference between someone who's ready for depth and someone who's still running from it. She's vulnerable and confident. She can share her heart without losing herself. She can be tender without being fragile. She can be open without being naive. She's open and wise. She can receive love without losing her boundaries. She can trust without being foolish. She can surrender without abandoning herself. She's ready and relaxed. She's not desperate for love, but she's not afraid of it either. She's available without being needy. She's interested without being attached to outcomes. This woman lives in a different reality than the one you might be living in now. In her reality, love is abundant. In her reality, good men exist, and they're looking for someone exactly like her. In her reality, vulnerability is rewarded, depth is appreciated, and authentic connection is not only possible, but inevitable. She didn't get to this reality by changing her circumstances. She got there by changing her vibration, by releasing the beliefs that kept her separate and embracing the truth that love is her birthright. But how do you make this shift? How do you go from protecting yourself from love to being present for love? It starts with a choice. A choice to trust that love doesn't have to hurt. A choice to believe that vulnerability can be safe. A choice to open your heart even when your past tells you it's dangerous. Say this with me. I no longer block the love that is mine. Feel these words in your body. Notice where they land. Notice what comes up. Notice if there's a part of you that wants to argue, that wants to remind you of all the reasons why love is dangerous. Thank that part. She's been trying to protect you. She's been working so hard to keep you safe. But you don't need her protection anymore. You're ready for something different now. It is safe to be fully seen, fully loved. This might be the hardest belief to embrace, the idea that it's safe to be completely known, completely vulnerable, completely authentic with another person, that you can show someone your whole self, your light and your shadow, your strength and your tenderness, your healing and your wounds, and be loved more, not less. But the truth your heart has been waiting to hear. This is the permission you've been waiting to give yourself. This is the leap you've been scared to take. Imagine yourself gently removing invisible armor that you've worn for so long you forgot it was there. Piece by piece, you set it down. First, you remove the armor of busyness. The constant doing, the perpetual productivity, the endless list of things that need to be accomplished before you can be available for love. You set it down and discover that there's actually plenty of time for connection when you're not hiding from it. Next, you remove the armor of humor. The jokes about being single, the laughs about dating disasters, the way you make light of your deepest desires. You set it down and discover that your longing for love is sacred, not silly. Then, you remove the armor of standards that are actually walls. The impossible criteria that no one could meet, the tests that no one could pass, the hoops that are designed to keep people at a distance rather than draw them closer. You set it down and discover that true discernment feels different from fear-based protection. Finally, you remove the armor of emotional unavailability. The part of you that's always holding back, always keeping one foot out the door, always preparing for the end, even in the beginning. You set it down and discover that presence is actually safer than protection. Your shoulders drop, your breath deepens, your heart opens. You feel lighter, not because you've lost something, but because you've remembered something.
You've remembered that love is not the enemy. Fear is the enemy. Love is the answer. You walk forward, not because you're chasing love, but because you're ready to dance with it, ready to meet it, ready to be met. You're not looking for someone to complete you because you understand that you're already complete. You're looking for someone to share your completeness with, someone to grow with, someone to love and be loved by. You're not looking for someone to fix you because you know you're not broken. You're looking for someone to see you, to appreciate you, to choose you every day, not because you're perfect, but because you're real. You're not looking for someone to save you because you've learned to save yourself. You're looking for someone to build a life with, someone to create magic with, someone to explore the depths of love with. This is who you become when you release the belief that love equals
Pain. This is who you've always been underneath the armor. This is who you're ready to be now. The love that's meant for you can feel this shift. It can sense that you're ready. It can recognize that you're no longer running from connection, but moving toward it. It can see that you're no longer protecting yourself from love, but preparing yourself for it. And it's on its way. Not because you've become perfect, but because you've become present. Not because you've healed everything, but because you've healed the most important thing, your belief about love itself. What would it feel like to allow love all the way in, with no need to guard your heart?